Hola, I am the Green Hornet, and I would like to sit down with your boss.
Sit on this.
This $120 million movie is commonly thought of as one of the worst would-be blockbusters of the past 2 decades. Despite the best of intentions from everyone involved, the Green Hornet's specific brand of action comedy failed to connect with audiences. The film's poor reception even almost killed Seth Rogen's acting career. The Green Hornet was created by George W. Trindle and Fran Stryker after the meteoric rise of their first creation, The Lone Ranger. The Green Hornet radio show about the adventures of a masked vigilante and his martial arts expert valet debuted on January 31st, 1936. The character went on to be adapted into 2 movie serials titled The Green Hornet and The Green Hornet Strikes Again. However, his most popular adaptation was the 1966 television show, also titled simply The Green Hornet, starring Van Williams as Britt Reed and the at the time unknown actor Bruce Lee as Kato. The show proved so popular that the character spawned a media empire. In fact, Kato was so popular in Asian countries that the show was re-edited and retitled as The Kato Show. Since the popularity of the 1960 show, various versions of the Green Hornet and Kato have been attempted as a big screen vehicle. There was a 90s version of the concept that was eyeing Greg Kinnear and Jason Scott Lee for Kato. This incarnation also had Michel Gondry set to direct the potential project. After multiple rounds of rewrites and all the previously attached actors leaving, Mark Wahlberg was offered the role. He didn't take it, and the film landed firmly in development hell. A morass of alternate versions would briefly spring to life over the next decade or so. Jet Li as Kato, Christopher McQuarrie writing the script, and a Kevin Smith and Jake Gyllenhaal version were 3 of the biggest what-ifs from this period. In March of 2007, it would be producer Neil H. Moritz who would finally find a winning, or depending on your perspective, losing combination of elements. He obtained the rights and brought in rising comedy star Seth Rogen. Rogen and co-writing partner Evan Goldberg were being asked to work their Superbad magic on this long in-development project. Did either of them have a burning passion for the material? No. Did they even seem like a good fit? No, not really. Was Rogen ready to take on a superhero role as an actor? No, not at all. He was the furthest thing from what anyone would want in a big screen Green Hornet. At the time, many Green Hornet fans were skeptical of their involvement. This seemed like yet another industry trades announcement that would lead nowhere, like the comedy reboot of Green Lantern starring Jack Black, or the idea of Nick Cage as Superman. Well, fate, it would seem, had other plans. Rogen would say in an interview that they were aiming to make the film a buddy comedy in the style of Lethal Weapon or 48 Hours. By September of that year, Hong Kong megastar and powerhouse director Stephen Chow was being courted to play Kato and direct the project. In a Variety interview, Chow said, "The idea of stepping into Bruce Lee's shoes as Kato is both humbling and thrilling, and to get the chance to direct the project as my American movie debut is simply a dream come true." This iteration of the movie introduced the idea that Britt Reed is not really the superhero. Kato is the one in control. He's the mastermind behind everything, and Britt is a bumbling buffoon who gets the credit for their acts.
I want Kato here now!
While this idea doesn't sound great, if Stephen Chow wants to put his spin on it, it's going to be interesting. The man made Shaolin Soccer and Kung Fu Hustle. He's brilliant. Only problem being, Stephen Chow dropped out of the project due to scheduling conflicts. On the acting front, he was replaced by Taiwanese actor and singer Jay Chow, and for the director's chair, Michel Gondry was selected. Apparently, before they started shooting the film, Chow, who is a huge star in Asia, didn't speak English at all, and it shows in the finished product, but more on that in a minute.
I didn't know much about Jay before he got involved in the project, honestly. We really met him on the movie.
The film that was ultimately produced was plagued with mismatched tones, budget overages, and a cast that is as perplexing as it is star-studded. Edward Furlong, Cameron Diaz, and a virtual who's who of character actors and cameos, as well as Christoph Waltz as the central antagonist Chudnovsky. The film is a fairly by-the-numbers mid-2000s superhero film. A young playboy, who is an heir to a newspaper fortune, befriends his recently deceased father's butler and car mechanic and takes up a life of urban vigilantism. The only problem is you can feel that everyone involved in the film doesn't really want to be there. What is Britt Reed's big heroic call to action moment? He kinda just sees a mugging and then mumbles, "What do I do? What do I do?" before jumping into the fray and getting beat up in front of the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. One of the film's key visual ideas was referred to as Kato Vision. It's a post-Matrix slow-mo mode that the movie drops into every 20 minutes or so. It puts the audience in Kato's shoes as he spots various potential dangers. Again, this is poorly conceived because the coolest part of the Bruce Lee incarnation of Kato was seeing Lee's preternatural martial arts abilities, not a gimmicky narrative device. Additionally, Kato Vision doesn't doesn't seem to match up with anything else in the movie stylistically. Gondry and crew endeavor to show that Kato is experiencing time slowing down, just like the audience is, because he's so talented and skilled at fighting crime. However, that's represented in surreal stretching and bizarre modular duplications of reality, which bears no actual impact on the reality of the film itself. It seems like something that would be more at home in a film about a magic or reality-bending character like Doctor Strange or Scarlet Witch, not regular human man Kato. Additionally, the movie seems ashamed of how goofy the source material is. It's constantly trying to cement the film in a sort of post-X-Men grounded logic. Then, at the same time, it features the fact that Kato built a car that has literal machine guns, spikes, and bulletproof armor for a random guy who owns a newspaper, and that's never depicted as strange or unusual. The movie is so by the numbers, it's almost breathtaking. The plot arcs along in a way that's so trite, it seems like in a previous version of the screenplay, the structure itself was a joke. The bad guys are bad, the good guys are flawed, but ultimately want to do the right thing, and then, for some reason, Kato and Green Hornet start actually fist-fighting each other during the second act low point, because the movie needs them to. The fact that you have a film where Christoph Waltz spouts dialogue and wields a double-barreled Desert Eagle pistol, and it's not at all impressive or memorable, is in and of itself impressive and memorable. The film's entire reason for being is that someone at some point realized that audiences around the world think Kato is cool, and therefore tried to make money off of it, and they never thought to include things like Britt and Kato's brotherly connection, Britt's staunch commitment to bettering his community, or Kato's loyalty and dry sense of humor. Rogen and crew just didn't really seem interested in investigating what other people liked about a character that's been around for close to 80 years. Instead, seemingly everyone involved just wanted to try and capitalize on the fact that superhero films were popular at the time. Could the high concept of actually the sidekick is the real superhero have worked as a movie? Yeah, probably, but having antipathy for your protagonist to shift the narrative responsibilities to your sidekick isn't the way to do it. This is literally the trap that the big-budget Disney Lone Ranger film fell into as well. It ended up working out just as well for that film too.
Where'd you get that?
Make trade.
Who's got the dead man?
Hard bargain.
Despite losing 30 pounds for the role, Seth Rogen just is not Britt Reed. And Jay Chow, the poor man looks lost in most of the scenes because Gondry, Rogen, and Goldberg were asking a person who didn't speak English to improvise while they were filming. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part of this whole affair is the squandered potential. The Green Hornet is a timeless icon. He's a character that's waiting to be readapted and given the A-list status he deserves. He's a character that can be used to tell so many exciting stories, and instead, he was the butt of the joke for 2 hours. And now whenever anyone brings him or Kato up in conversation, most people think of this movie first. Britt Reed, the Green Hornet, and Kato are characters that people all over the globe are familiar with. It's an easier task to turn a new version of Kato and the Green Hornet into box office gold than it was to re-establish Iron Man or Guardians of the Galaxy. Rogen's career took a huge hit after this movie. No one cared that he lost 30 pounds to play the titular crime fighter. He had to write and produce himself out of this failure. So in one sense, this belly flop gave birth to a new version of Seth Rogen, one that's responsible for writing and producing things like TMNT, Mutant Mayhem, and Preacher, but at what cost? Fans of the Green Hornet want a good Green Hornet movie, and this adaptation had A-list talent, a massive budget, and all the studio backing a project could hope for. And yet, this film was doomed the minute they decided to make Britt Reed a buffoon.
You! This is my town now! My name is the Green Hornet!
And well, that's all we have for this episode. What do you think? Will there be another version of Green Hornet and Kato put to the big screen anytime soon? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, like, comment, and subscribe to Nerdstalgic for more videos.